If you've been solving math problems, you've probably come across addition and subtraction problems like this, involving negative numbers. So in this video, you're going to learn how to deal with problems like this the easy way. This diagram here is probably not new to you. It is called a number line and it's what most people use to solve those problems I showed you earlier. It has a zero marking in the middle with positive numbers to the right and negative numbers to the left. But I'm actually here to teach you how to avoid using this number line because it really cannot help us when dealing with larger numbers. Now let's take our first illustration with minus 25 minus 8. And the first step is to multiply the signs of the two numbers. Yes, addition and subtraction signs can be multiplied. Now it is important to know that the sign for any number is the sign just before that number, and usually when you don't see any sign, the number is taken as a positive number with an invisible plus sign. That is why 3 is also the same as plus 3. So before 25 and 8 we have the negative or minus sign. Now let's quickly learn about multiplying signs. When two positive signs are multiplied, we get a positive sign. When two negative signs are multiplied, we get a positive sign too. When we multiply a negative and positive sign, we also get a negative sign. Similarly, when we multiply a positive and negative sign, we get a negative sign too. So as a tip for remembering this, we'll notice that when we multiply two similar signs, we get back a positive sign. And when we multiply two opposite signs, we get back a negative sign. Now for the question we are dealing with, this here is actually what we need. Let's move on to the next step, which is to add or subtract the numbers in the question based on the sign gotten from the first step. Since by multiplying two negative signs we got a positive sign, we can now add 25 and 8 and we will get 33. We can now conclude with the final step, which is to take the original sign of the bigger number and place it before the answer gotten from step 2. From our step 2 we got 33 and the bigger number here is 25. When we take the negative sign before 25 and place before 33, we get our final answer to be minus 33. Let's quickly run through another example with minus 9 plus 13. First of all, let's multiply the signs here and that will give us a negative sign. Now we know we have to subtract, but we have two options. We can either do 9 minus 13 or 13 minus 9. At this point, it is important to know that we always have to find what is called a positive difference. What this means is that we have to subtract the smaller number from the bigger number. And in this case, we'll have to subtract 9 from 13, which will give us 4. Now we consider the sign before the bigger number in the question, which is 13. The sign is a positive sign, so we place this positive sign before 4 to get our final answer as plus 4 or 4. We can choose to ignore the positive sign and still write the final answer as 4. Alternatively, for this same question, given minus 9 plus 13, we can reorder this to be written as plus 13 minus 9 and we get our answer to be 4. Plus 13 minus 9 is the same as having 13 minus 9 and the final answer remains 4 or plus 4. Now that you've learned this, try these ones and I promise you it will get easier and faster as you practice this technique with more questions. Goodbye.